go find the answers versus answer it themselves. They have to build a Lego robot from scratch that does all these board missions. And so if you're interested in that, there's a book that just really just shows all the robot stuff. That's a third of their grade, and then they get judged on how well their robot independently with all programs that they built run on a map. And a couple years ago, we came in and talked about the robot, so maybe some of you have seen that. But that was how do they do these independent missions in 2.5 minutes, and they get judged on how many missions they do successfully. So that's this one, and then the last one is the project. So in 8 weeks, these kids put 127 hours after school and weekends into a very condensed schedule to finish a project that they don't know ahead of time what it is, as well as the robot game, build the robot, program it, and compete. And they get judged on how well they compete as a team, how well they help each other. In this case, we had two new, the two girls were new to the team this year, so we had to integrate the girls on the team, how do you do that well. So they learn a lot about just how to norm, and learn about teams. And I'll leave these at the back, or we'll pass them down.
Thank you very much. Question?
Okay. Quickly, so we only have a couple minutes, Kyle. Do you want to do your skit, or do you want to just go there? Okay. So they have a song, but they're a little shy, so instead they're just going to go. It's a great song. I think you should do the song. I think you should do the song. Do the song. So it's a great song. They had to make it up. And my first suggestion was do it to the Beverly Hillbillies. That tune was going to tell you a story. And they looked at me like I was crazy. What is that? So they picked Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, which I said, what's that? So they're going to do their song. Aaron Morak is not here, so it'll be a little bit different than they would normally do it. But kids, I think it's pretty important to do. That'll be a good way to do it. No, there's the first she posted. Okay? I don't know if I can hear you back here. I'm through. I don't know if I can hear you, Kyle. Face us. You just face us. Yeah. Face up.
Okay, perfect.
Now, this is a story all about how polystyrene trays are a big problem now.
And we'd like to take a minute, just sit right there. We'll tell you how foam trays are Mount Rumpke scared.
From polystyrene film, born and raised in the cafeteria tray, spend most of his days.
A Ford decomposer for 5 centuries will stay. Chilling out, maxing, relaxing, all cool.
Recycling these trays is a problem for our schools.
Team MPI gathered and started research in.
Food director said can't move away from them. Team MPI said more foes are out we need to see.
So we loaded up the vans
and toured Mount Rumpke.
We saw trash mountain after mountain, too tall to say. Big trucks, so much trash, we must change our school's way.
We learned from trays are nearly 95% air. Recycling foam is possible, just not here or there.
Team huddle, yo, this is bad.
Throwing trays in the trash really makes us mad.
Thermal densification, yeah, I said thermal densification reduces foam volume by 80%. In that massive landfill, we can really make a dent.
We presented our solutions to our foam-using schools, and we shared the message, let's make our schools cool. For short-term budgets, don't restrict these solutions,
Or the next generation has to deal with our pollution. What you're saving now, we be paying for later. If we start with styrene blocks, we can turn them into new things like landscaping, rocks, benches, lawnmower sheds, curves, and floating docks. Repurposed trays.
let's beautify our schools. We're Team MPI.
Masters of Programming Insanity.
Next, we have a presentation from the Warren County Career Center.
Good.
young people as part of your student body. I know I was pretty impressed, so.
Maggie, before you start, we as the Lowell Miami Board would like to present you with flowers. I'm trying. And we have a card, but I want to read you what it says because it really conveys what we feel. It says, some people make more than a career out of their work. They make a difference. And we feel like the Career Center and Lowell Miami has had a wonderful partnership. And we feel like the programs that you have brought here have really enriched our children and enriched our whole community. So we really appreciate all that you and the Career Center have done, and you've made a big difference.
And so now I have to give a presentation. Thank you very much. Totally unexpected and greatly appreciated. So I'm here tonight because I have been going around to each of the boards of education of our partner schools over the last several weeks, just to give everybody an update on what we're doing at the Career Center, and as a way to say thank you for the partnership that we have, because I know as superintendent at the Career Center that we couldn't do the work that we do without our partner schools and the support we receive, not only from the administrators and teachers, but also from the Board of Education. So I'm going to be very brief in my remarks, and then I have 3 of your Little Miami students who have chosen to participate in some of the programs that we have, 1 at the Career Center and 2 from our new satellite programs at the junior high and Project Lead the Way. So they're just going to share a little bit about what that has meant to them. So first of all, I always like to remind everybody what our vision and mission is at the Career Center, and the parts highlighted in yellow under the vision are the most important pieces, and that is that we want to be the valued partner of choice. Just a reminder, no one has to come to the Warren County Career Center. We are an extra value, I believe, that is offered to your students here at Little Miami, but we are all about recruitment and retention and making sure that we're providing the programs and services that your students need. And also quality academic and career technical education. When a student chooses to come to the Career Center, then they take not only their Career Tech Lab with us, but they're also spent half of their day in academic courses, which are taught by certified teachers licensed by the state of Ohio, just as you have here at Little Miami. And that our purpose is to provide a future of opportunities unique to each of our learners. We don't, our goal is not to say that if you participate in the electrical program that that's going to be what you do for the rest of your life, but that it will open doors for you and give you better choices in terms of what you do throughout your life, so that you can be a contributing member of your community and be self-supportive and support your family. And then our mission has stayed the same. This is our 40th year serving Warren County, and from 1976, our mission has been to prepare youth and adults to make informed career choices so they can successfully enter, compete, and advance in a changing work world. And that mission is as applicable today as it was back in 1976, if not more so. Just to let you know, we provide career development, which we have a career development specialist that works with every building, not every district, but every building operated by our partner school districts in Warren County. We have high school programs, adult education programs, and we also operate a public preschool which serves both students with special needs and typically developing preschoolers. So at the high school level, we currently offer 28 workforce development programs, plus a variety of other support services. We have counseling, we have social work services available for students. We do credit recovery if students need that. We offer advanced programming if needed. All those things are offered at our main campus, and then we offer another group of programs as satellite programs. And some of you might say, what is a satellite program? Well, many students will never come to the Career Center north of Lebanon, but all of you are paying paying taxes to support the Warren County Career Center. And so it's my belief that we need to make our career technical education programs more accessible to every community that we serve. And so we bring our programs to the high school and now to the junior high. In the last couple of years, we've started offering junior high programs. And since I believe that we are experts in that area in terms of providing career technical education, it's been great to work with Little Miami to bring those programs here to your school. And so right now, we offer at the high school IT networking, we offer a digital design program, a business academy, and then at the junior high, Project Lead the Way, and we're also providing to ninth graders Project Lead the Way classes also, which next year will expand to all grade levels at the high school. So that's how we're impacting students at Little Miami that choose not to come. And then we continue to want students to come to the main campus because we offer programs there that we would not offer here at the high school. And so right now, we're serving 102 Little Miami students who are enrolled in programs at our main campus. And then we are serving another 849 students here in 7th through 12th grade in the variety of satellite programs that I offer, in which I think you should be very proud of that in terms of your administration and your board for supporting that. And we are very excited about that. So at adult education, we offer 17 workforce development programs offering a variety of industry certifications and portable credentials, plus part-time programs. We do customized training for business and industry. In fact, I was at FECON, which is located in Lebanon on Monday, and we are going to be doing some job shadowing and internship programs because they're already hiring our welders, but they're interested in hiring students from some of our other programs also, both at the high school and adult level. And we touch over 3,600 adult learners through our services and programs at the Career Center throughout the county in adult ed. So positive outcomes, that's really important, student success. Every year, we have to follow up, our teachers have to contact students who graduated from our programs at the high school level. They have to not only, if they can't get a hold of the student, we ask them to contact parents to verify what those students are doing. And so on our last report card, 92% of our high school alumni were either employed, continuing their education, or employed in the military 1 year after. And we have to document that and keep that documentation. In terms of our adult education programs, over 90% placement rate for successful adult completers. And again, all of our workforce development programs offer industry certifications and college credit, as do our high school programs. And in terms of those college connections, because for some parents, that's really important. I only want to remind you, though, that college is not a career. It's a step to another career. So for some students, that is the path they should take, and for others, they might go to work right away and then eventually go on to some continuing education. But at adult education, we are a member of the Ohio Department of Higher Education. We offer college credit transferability both at the high school and adult level. All of our high school programs are considered tech prep, which means that any student who is considered a completer in one of our programs, whether it be at the main campus or even here at Little Miami, if they go on to Sinclair Community College and they choose the pathway in which they took their courses in high school and they have certain criteria, attendance and grades, they are eligible for a $3,000 scholarship, which covers approximately almost all of their tuition for 2 years at Sinclair. And if you've ever sent a student to college, you know how valuable that amount of money can be. And again, that's not for every student, but it's an option available to any student who is in our programs. And then we offer a variety of other college credit options. So, student accomplishments are actually the true measure of our accountability, and we now have an Alumni Hall of Fame, and some of the individuals who have been inducted into that, we have Allison Bachman, who was our 2016 valedictorian, and she's still in school right now because she just graduated last year, but she received a large scholarship to the Art Academy in Cincinnati. One of our distinguished alumni is Donnie Powell. He took our landscape technology program, and he's now the owner of Finer Lawn and Landscaping. Those are the two that we highlighted. So, and so at this point in time, I want to ask our students who are here, Ethan, Joey, and Spencer, to come on up. And while they're coming up, I just want to recognize two of our instructors who are here tonight. Chuck Higgins, who is the instructor for our Advanced Technology and Robotics program, and Juliana Thomas, who is your new instructor for the junior high Project Lead the Way program here at Little Miami. So Spencer, I'm going to let you go first. Spencer is in our Robotics and Advanced Technology program.
Hi, I'm Spencer Curie, and I basically went to the Warren County Career Center just to find a career that suits my personality, and best one out of all was Advanced Technology and Robotics. So, and of course, I believe that most people would love to go to the Career Center due to all the varieties of career opportunities and also the college credits that come with it and the 2 years scholarship for Sinclair. And with the robotics program, there has been about $500,000 in renovations and all new equipment added to the room, and it has expanded. And right now, for the junior year, there's about 13 of us in between like Kings, Lebanon, Little Miami, and we have gone from measuring tools from like millimeters to kilometers, feet, inches, and then after that we went to AC/DC, electricals, and then some motor controls, and then basic electrical motors, which are quite easy. But also, just the academics of the Career Center is quite easy. Just it gets hard at sometimes, being in high school and all, but you get used to it. But the best part of most everybody's day is just going to the labs and having fun with their friends that they've met from other schools, or friends that have come from their home schools, and also having fun with their instructors, and just having a blast knowing that everything that you do in your course contributes to everything that you could possibly do in your future and just in your workforce. And I hope that Little Miami keeps the Warren County Career Center as an option for future to come.
Thank you very much. And now I have Ethan, right? And Joey, and you're both in the same class, right? Or, okay, so you can kind of talk off of each other if you want, okay?
Hi, my name is Ethan Vega, and my mom is right there. Gateway, for us, it's really motivational. It's a very motivational project. And we do cool engineering things like building race cars, windmills, and using tiny electrical motors. And we'll use a program chip to tell the robotic what to do. And it's a very interesting class. It's very new to me. It's my first year, of course. But what I think it's really cool is that we get to do stuff that we can't usually do in school, like using electrical motors. Like we did that in 4th grade, but not as much as we do now. Like next up, we're going to build a race car using a lot of technology, and we actually build all these things with Allen switches, wrenches, and we all do it ourselves, and then we feel very, very accomplished at what we do. It's basically like opening up a new window.
Hi, my name is Erin Malinowski, and that's my mom right there. When I came to Little Miami, I saw like all the classes and everything I could do, and I like the school here better. How it's more, I guess, like the energy's better here, and I really like the Gateway class because we can be ourselves and we can be creative, and it's different from our regular classes because we can we have an open mind and we can do other things, not be afraid to do the activities, and some of the activities are challenging, but we still we still have an open mind to it. And I really like the robotics because I've never done anything like this, and the engineering part, I've never thought about engineering until I came to this class, and now I want to do automotive engineering.
I just, again, want to thank Little Miami, the Board of Education, the administrators, as well as the parents for allowing us the opportunity to have an impact and influence your child's life. I do want to say, though, that the more I am out in industry, I am overwhelmed by the way technology is impacting what is done in industry. And when we were at FECON the other day, they had a robotic arm that was now doing welding. And if you go into healthcare, there's robots. And so all of these students at whatever level they're at are learning about technology in a way that's going to impact our world in a way we don't even understand yet. Sure. So thank you all for being here. Again, thanks for being here.
Yeah, he was.
Next, we have a presentation from the Business Advisory Council.
Good evening, everyone. We'll be sharing a presentation today. Just have a handout for you all. While we're queuing up our presentation, say thank you for having us. Joining you this evening. It's been about 9 months since we spoke with you, so we have a lot to share tonight. One of the things I wanted to do to start off, since we have a group of folks here that might not be completely familiar with the Business Advisory Council. First, wanted to introduce the team that we have here. My name is John Henstead. I've been with the Business Advisory Council for a number of years. I'm a P&G finance manager, been with P&G a little over 20 years. So hopefully bringing some of that background to life within working with the board and the administration as we look to aid. And we'll get into exactly what our charter is. Mark, if you'd like to introduce yourself quick.
Mark Sousa, married to a Little Miami grad and lived in the community since '99. 2 students in the high school.
And Rusty.
I'm Rusty Holman. I've been with the Business Advisory Council just this year. I retired from Formica Corporation after 34 years. I've enjoyed retirement and enjoying working with the school. We live in Little Miami, although I've spent the last 15 years living in Kings. So we've had experience with both.
Great. Thank you. And my wife, Julie, is here as well, and we have 2 children, one 8th grader and one 10th grader as well. So what I wanted to do is just share a little bit of the background of the BAC, and really we were formed to provide 3 services for the board. Really continuously improving the financial performance of the district and really focusing on fiscal responsibility. Are we spending wisely? Are we making the right choices? Maintaining clear and regular communication with our community, but most importantly, enriching the educational experience of our district children. So the focus of our discussion tonight is going to be fiscal responsibility and looking at choices and priority calls that we need to make. One of the things I want to share before we get into this is this is difficult territory to cover. And we recognize that you all, the administration, everybody on the Business Advisory Council has a lot of passion for this. And we are all operating in an environment where we're looking to truly have long-term beneficial experiences for our students. So as we get into this, don't want to say anything negative about what the administration is bringing forward in terms of spending plans, et cetera. When you look at everything in isolation, it all makes sense, and it is all absolutely for the betterment of the children and positive impact to the community. One of the challenges that we'll talk about, though, is there is some potential risk as we go forward. If we don't manage our spending to a certain level, and we'll get into what the math looks like and potential scenarios down the road, we could run into trouble, and we could be needing to ask more of our community in terms of funding, taxes, et cetera, than is maybe possible. So that's what we really want to focus on today. 9 months ago, we came to you and shared a number of different things, so we've updated based on some decisions made since then as well. Mark? Actually, one thing before we proceed, we introduced a few of us that are here today. That's not everyone that's on the council. But I also wanted to share that we have someone missing here tonight. So Tracy Fletcher Garrett was a very active member within the Business Advisory Council. We tragically lost her about 6 weeks ago. And she had a lot of passion for this. So she is happy that we're here talking about this, but we miss her tremendously. And she's been a great asset to you as a board and the community, parent in the community, et cetera. So we miss her. It's definitely a gap. So I'd like to just take a moment moment of silence to think of Tracy and all that she's offered us. Great, thank you, Tracy, and we're continuing the charge. Okay, so 9 months ago, if you flip to the, yes, okay, so why are we here today? Really to reinforce some of the discussion that we had 9 or 10 months ago. We do feel that we continue to need to have an intervention. We've had continued dialogue with the administration, and really we are focusing on the long term. It's critically important to look at both the short term and the long term. We recognize we have come out of fiscal emergency, we came through, we passed our levy renewal, et cetera, and it's right to think about the best ways to reinvest. But we have to be cautious as we think about the long-term impacts, and we'll get into what some of those things look like. But it's critical to act now because it's easy for it to catch up on us, and then it becomes much more difficult. Every year that passes, it becomes that much more difficult to make an impact that will head off some of these challenges. So if we go to the next slide. So this is a similar recommendation to what we shared 9 months ago, but a number of things have changed since then. Our recommendation continues to be that the board works with the administration to really evaluate all of the options to limit spending over time to the 3 to 4% growth in expenditures. And the reason for that, why that is so critical, is the revenue stream. And we've talked about this in the past, and I think folks recognize. In our community, it's difficult to increase our revenue from a school funding perspective, and we average about a 1% increase in revenue every year. So when we're asking to limit spending to 3 to 4%, that's still in excess of what our revenue is growing. We have to find new ways to get that revenue. Or the state needs to help us. But everything that we can do to limit that gap between the funding that's available to us and how we're spending and how we're growing our spending, everything we can do to reduce that gap will extend the amount of time we have until we really struggle and have challenges that face us. Look for the board to really request from the administration an itemization of what those choices would look like to help get down to the 3 to 4% level. And then a request that the board be committed to, at a minimum, ensuring that you have available to you what those choices are. And we recognize there will be choices that we won't be willing to make as a board, as an administration, as a community. But the thing that's absolutely critical about that is we will be coming up on scenarios where we'll need to redo the levy. Maybe we'll need to ask for more. It will be critical that we'll be able to have a dialogue with the community on the choices that we evaluated, Whether we made decisions to cut spending or not, we'll be able to share the rationale and work with the community on what the impact of those decisions were and, what that might mean for future funding, okay? So now I'm just gonna walk through a little bit. So we met with you in January, and at that time, you approved the first year of the administration's 3-year plan. What that looked like, and at the time we talked about there were some aggressive numbers, some high numbers in the 5-year forecast related to busing, et cetera. What we've done since then is Terry has stripped that out of the financials. But what that resulted in is for this academic year, the spending is increasing about 8 to 9% versus a year ago, okay? And in the current 5-year forecast, the balance of the 3 years that's on that is an average spending of 7% per year, okay? So again, we're well past that revenue pace of 1% growth. So what does that mean? What is the impact of that? We go to the next slide. And this is where we're changing how we're sharing the data a little bit. We shared a lot of graphs before, et cetera. Wanted to really bring this down to the brass tacks of what does it really mean. And so if we look forward, we will have a levy renewal or an opportunity for a levy in 4 years, in November of 2020. And that will need to address both the spending pattern that we've had since our last levy all the way through the next levy. So really a decade of time frame, okay? And we have to prepare for that with the next levy to ensure that we don't run out of funding at the time. So if we continue to spend at the 7% per year over the balance of this decade, it is a very tenuous situation. You can see, and this is strict math of working with Terry, and Terry has blessed these numbers as well, that we would need a levy in 2020 to stay solvent for the following 5 years of $33 million per year, more than 3 times the current levy. As you think about the challenge that we've had in the past to pass our levies, that's just not tenable. There is no possible way that we would be able to do that. And that is an extreme amount of taxes that would need to be borne by homeowners in the community. Okay, so that's just framing, and I recognize, and we've had discussions about this in our Business Advisory Council with the administration, and we're not challenging, as I said before, the desire for the spending is all in the right place, looking to improve the situation or just deliver acceptable in all of our minds, student to teacher ratios, et cetera. But if we end up in a position where we need to triple the levy, it's the Business Advisory Council's recommendation that we need to do everything in our power today to change the future and to not have to do that in 4 years from today. So the next slide is, if we reduce the spending to 4% per year, again, over the next decade, and if you think about this, we've had lots of discussions on, how do you limit the spending from 7 to 8% down to 4%, what we talked last January. It's never going to get easier, right? So it's very challenging to be successful if we say, well, we have to invest now and we'll just reduce the spending later. Really, the best way to successfully deliver long-term fiscal responsibility is to ensure that you have that consistent approach that would allow you to demonstrate an ability to manage the costs over time, right? So if we reduce it to 4%, it's still an $18 million per year levy that would be required, almost double, 1.5 times to 2 times. Again, very difficult from a perspective of would we be able to pass a levy that high. And that's why we're recommending 3 to 4%. The second one, if we get down to 3% per year, that would bring that levy down much closer to where we are today. Okay? Next slide. We all know any increased levy is challenging to pass. We also know, and been sharing, and we're having community discussions on. There's the potential that we'll run out of space over the next few years, and we may need more investment in buildings, infrastructure to support the students of the district. So when you think about, we could be looking at needs for new school funding, et cetera. That would be on top of this operating needs that we would be asking of the community. So that is just a lot that we'll be asking the community to deliver with this. So that's why it's just so critically important that at a minimum, we need to be able to articulate the choices we're evaluating and the decisions that we're making as we are on this journey to the next point at which we need to really communicate with the community on what is needed from a funding perspective, okay? And what is achievable? I don't think we know that answer. Could we pass a $20 million levy? I don't know. Could we pass, a renewal levy? I think we've proven that we can do that. But we need to have a lot of dialogue, I think, with the community over time. We've had some, animated discussions with the administration, thinking about, well, really one of the major elements of the cost that you would need to address is staffing, and that's a reality. And you just need to ensure that we understand what that looks like over time. Are there discussions that we would have with the community? What is an acceptable level of student-to-teacher ratio? And how much would we be willing to spend to support that, right? So all of those are challenging discussions, but to the degree you're able to back it up with the decisions and the thought process that you as a board and administration have gone through to ensure that we are following a very, very strong fiscal approach, will help in those discussions, okay? So then just closing, the next steps, very specifically, request you as a board, as you're working with the administration on 17-18 spending. So we recognize the 5-year planning is a lot of assumptions, et cetera, but as you look at 17-18, that's a very finite space, and it's very real decisions. You're talking about what's the hiring class you're going to go out and look to do in the spring to support the staffing for the year, et cetera. So our request is, what would it take to be at the 3 to 4% spending? And hopefully that is starting to provide the rigor of evaluating all the different options to ensure we continue to operate at that pace going forward, just to minimize the need and the ask of the community. So that's essentially what we're here to share. So I know this is continuing to be eye-opening. Bobby doesn't like to see me very often when we join up and have some of these discussions, because I cause our heartburn. But that is one of the roles. It's one of the roles, of this business advisory conference. I think you're asking us to do is to help you think about these things, because it is eye-opening and very concerning when you see some of the demands that we could be in a position to ask the community to help us with, and we want to be best prepared to deal with that when the situation comes. Rusty, Mark, anything you want to add before we open up to discussion and questions from these guys?
I would just like, I'm sorry.
So go ahead, Bob.
I would just like to say, the Business Advisory Council does this on their own, free, and they put a lot of work in this. He does give me a stomachache every time I hear this, because there's some major things that we're really gonna have to look at. Not that I don't like to see you, but every time I see you, it's like not good stuff. But I really appreciate what you do.
Yes.
And even though sometimes we have heated discussions, it's not, we don't dislike you, just don't always like what you say. So I'm just saying, thank you for what you do, because even though you do give me heartburn and stomachache, you do a good job.
I'm not sure if that's a compliment. I'm still rolling that around.
I'm still wondering why she did that. Mark, you did something.
Well, fully agree with everything John has said, and one thing that's completely out of everyone's hands is this assumes a current level of state funding, which, may or may not remain constant. It could improve, it could worsen, but, you don't want to think about that. But just on a little bit of a tangent, something we talked about in our recent meeting, and something that Tracy was kind of our go-to person on, is communication, and just, John alluded to, we need to at some point start to really engage the community, and because we have a lot of great open and sometimes animated, heated conversation in our meetings, and I think the community would be proud and encouraged at how seriously this stuff gets looked at, and the thought going into things, and the control of the spending. But at some point, we have to really figure out how to involve and inform and educate the community, and get input as to, what they will support down the road or what they want to see out of the schools, because all the comments about the district right now in recent years are great, you know, and things like that, and we just want to keep that momentum going and keep building on it.
I think we need to stress that the increased enrollment.
Yeah.
Significant. Sometimes we look at it as if it's a constant. You know, let's not spend this much money, but when you're getting more students, common sense tells you there's more money involved in taking care of those students. So looking at the situation, when I think about cutting the budget, we're not exactly fluff. I think we're not, you know, we may not be where we even need to be. So cutting to me makes me think back to fiscal emergency, and I don't even want to think that because we're not there.
Yeah. And really, the request that we're making is that it's a very thoughtful process, because if we don't change anything, there's a wall the next time we need to renew the levy. And that will help dictate how well we are able to demonstrate the depth of analysis and decision-making that has gone over the past 4 years will help make that more manageable. But having said that, it's the Business Advisory Council's point of view that it will end very poorly if we don't step in now and do something. And I would say, I mean, we're not asking you to cut budgets, and I'll share a little business perspective, right? And we've had discussions on this. These would be very different discussions in a business context, right? It would be, you know, you will spend at 1%, so you have a balance, and you go find a way to do that, right? So this isn't cutting the budget, right? This isn't cutting costs year on year. This is reducing the rate of growth of spend. So it's important that even not using that vernacular is important, because when we go and have that discussion with the community, they won't see that. They'll see the growth in spending over time. And that's much different than a discussion of there have been cuts.
Baseline budgeting versus,
Right.
Okay, so this 3 or 4% will affect spending at 17, 18, right?
Yeah, that's what we're requesting. I mean, we recognize you guys made the call for this current academic year, and frankly, those decisions are largely in place. Ideally, we want you to be looking at a long-term horizon, but in good discussions with Mr. Power and the team, recognize that we want to be focused, and thought it made sense to focus on the next academic year, to really get diligent in what that looks like. And you may decide to still spend at 5 or 6 or 7%, but we'll have that rationale that we can share with the community. It's just the further up that growth rate we do end up spending, it just makes that discussion that much more difficult down the road. And we recognize these are tough decisions. It could be you know, softening of pay increases. It could be not the level of growth of staffing that we feel we need, right? And that's where, you know, some of the work that Tracy had started and that we think is imperative on the communication with the community is what is acceptable, right? I don't think a levy triple the size is, and I don't think 75 students per teacher is, but there might be some magic place in the middle where the community would recognize, yes, it's a very difficult funding situation for our district, and frankly, part of the communication is we have to educate folks more. They don't understand that. We see it all the time when we're dealing with it and in it, but there's also just a general education on how the school gets funded that would be helpful for folks, but it will be extremely difficult if we continue at the pace that we have in the current